Alright, welcome to the channel, and today we'll be talking about the Meze Alba, and that's translated into white, the term white, which these are this really pretty like pearl, opalescent white kind of paint scheme, color scheme on the Meze Alba. Meze Alba. I suck at pronunciation. But anyways, so today we'll be talking about these lovely little IEMs, and these were sent out by Meze, and they are not asking me to say or do anything other than my honest opinion regarding these little IEMs. What does IEM mean? In-ear monitor for those that don't know. But anyways, let's dive right into the build, aesthetics, and then go into sound and some of the tracks I listen to while going over these and listening to these, and final thoughts after that. So right into the build and aesthetics of the Meze Alba. The build and aesthetics, honestly, it's very pretty. I really dig the overall like kind of conch, almost like a shell, like a, I want to say conch, but that's not right, but it almost has like this really nice natural kind of lines to it. It's all very like smoothed over and really nice aesthetic, and the paint and the feel of them on the fingers, you can't even see it because it's so small and they're so far away, but the feel of the materials is excellent, and it's a Meze product, so build is fantastic, like always with all of their products. That comes with these IEM tips are basic silicone tips, nothing too crazy. They're not the softest, not my favorite by far, but they're also not bad. They're actually really excellent. I don't have any problems with them. I just prefer something like the aftermarket, like Zelastic ones or something like that. But anyways, that's a moot point. The tips are fine. They do the job and they do them well. So no issue there as far as the tips, other than preference for aftermarket stuff. And kind of a neat little thing on all of the tips, markers on the sides that are embossed into the tips with large, medium, that kind of thing, small, so you know what size is which. So that's actually a very nice little touch. I really dig that. So the cable is very well made, and as you can see, there's not really too much memory to it. It's got a nice, fall to it, but it does have these memory cables. It does have the little part that goes around your ear to kind of keep it in form for going around your ear there for both sides, and then has a kind of a red tint to the tip here on this one for red is right, and a clear on the other one for left. Then going down in, it has obviously your little slider here, so you can, crimp it up to your neck so it doesn't whatever, but not that I ever use that or see anybody ever really use that, but that's a pretty standard thing on the split. Then 3.5 at the end there, termination, and then they also, if I don't drop it everywhere, also they sent out with it this USBC dongle DAC, which very well made, excellent silver cables here for both the IEM cable and for this little dongle DAC here, and it's a USB-C. I tried it with my iPad Pro and even plugging it into things like my MacBook. I have an older iPhone, so it doesn't have the new USB-C. I have the 14, not the 15 Pro Max, so that's something to be aware of. I didn't get to test it with that, but I did try with some of my Android ones, and that worked fine. But overall build is fantastic and no issues there. As far as aesthetics, I actually really dig the aesthetics a lot with these. They have, like I said, that pearl white kind of opalescence kind of look to it to some level, or not opalescence, more of a shimmer, like a pearl shimmer, like that white shimmer you see on cars kind of deal. And you can kind of see there off-white color to it, that pearl white, and it has like a nice shimmer to it and a sparkle or metallicness to it, and I really dig that look a lot. I like the fact that the vent port is right there on the face, and it looks nice. They did a really good job integrating it, and like I said, the overall shape of it is very natural. It has a lot of like smooth curves and circular like rounded edges and that kind of thing. I really dig on it. And for comfort, they just slide right on the ear and like no issues at all. Super comfortable. Actually, forget they're kind of there. Actually, these are some of the most comfortable IEMs I've worn in a long time, and the isolation is good as long as you have the right tips for your ear size so that it can actually isolate. But yeah, so comfort and looks and all that fun stuff is fantastic. No issues there. So diving into sound. Oh, also it comes with this lovely little case that you can put them in. It's a little bit on the smaller side, but as long as you wind up the cables pretty decently tight, and then it comes with a little like white Velcro tie to put it together, it will actually fit both the dongle DAC and the IEMs with the cable in this little case. You just have to kind of wind it a little bit tighter. Going into the sound with the DAC, specifically the little dongle DAC, I did find that this was actually really good. It did its job. It's a DAC. It's a small little dongle DAC. It did its thing. I don't really know the numbers behind it or anything like that, but as far as it working and recognizing on my iPad Pro, no problem there, and it worked. So I have no complaints about the dongle DAC. It did its job and it did it good. And I did find that overall the Albas are a little bit on the brighter leaning side, which I noticed with the dongle DAC. It also has a little bit more of a brighter lean to it, a little bit. So just to be aware of that, it can lean a little bit bright with that dongle DAC if you're not a big fan of kind of like that brighter side. It never really got super sibilant, but it definitely flirted with being a little bit too bright for my personal preferences. But I'm also a little bit on the treble sensitive side, so take that for what it is. All right, so going into the sound of the Alba in and of itself, I have a couple notes for some tracks that I listened to, and I'll list the tracks down below as well to kind of go over what I was hearing. Overall, though, like the imaging and detail is like excellent, and that kind of leans with that kind of like having a more higher, the highs being a little more forward. I guess you tend to get a little bit more detail and imaging with that. The overall balance of these IEMs, the Alba, is actually really good. If you don't pay attention to the highs and you focus on the mids and the lows, it's actually pretty good. Like, I was actually really impressed with the overall sound signature of this, even though the highs did push a little bit towards where I'm uncomfortable on some tracks. Yeah, overall though, it's a balanced sounding with the forward in the highs, like the highs a little more forward. I will say, the thing I wrote down here was that it does get splashy. And what I mean by splashy is, I'll use an example of Joshua Tree by Cautious Clay. And when the chorus kicks in and like all the instruments kick in, it kind of turns into this wall of noise, and it just gets like the highs just get overwhelming at times. And then you get like the hi-hats and like the different, just like that splash, right? You get a hi-hat splash or too much metallic noises, like there's another one I did an example of, but I'll get to that in a second. But anything with like a triangle or like a metal ping, so like a xylophone, like a metallic xylophone, or like I said, a triangle, or I'm trying to think of the other ones, a chime, or like where they hit the metal and it ping, like that kind of sound can get sometimes a little bit too resonant for me or too splashy for me. So take that into account. But moving on from Joshua Tree, the biggest one for the Joshua Tree Cautious Clay to look at is when that chorus kicks in and like the wall of noise of highs comes in, and like they just throw a ton of like instruments all at once, and then he's singing at a higher note at that time. So just pay attention to that. But moving on to some of the other tracks I listened to was Make the Road by Walking. This one was the Menahan Band, and like I said, I'll list it below. And this one was the one that I was mentioning before with the xylophone or like a triangle sound, and it kind of throughout the track, and that metal ping, it kind of brought me out of listening to that track because it was such a, like it was a distraction almost, the way it just resonated and splashed, and like it was just, like it's so distinct that it picked up on it. But the rest of the track was excellent. Like the rest of the instruments sounded excellent. I didn't have any issues there outside of that ping sound. And then the next two tracks kind of go into more of tracks that kind of paired well with these IEMs, and what I found to be, actually they did phenomenal with these tracks, which are actually departures of themselves from each other. But one was Tainted Love by Milky. This one is obviously it's a cover. The bass was excellent, and it has like this really interesting bass punch, but there's also this snap to it. Like it has this very snappy, like it almost feels like it's making this noise because it's IEM, so it doesn't have very much excursion, right? So it has this like, I don't know, it was just funny. I picked up on it. But the good bass and the vocals are very enjoyable. Like he has excellent vocals, and overall it was a really good pairing with that track, and I enjoyed that track with the Alba a lot. And then going down to the next track, which would be Empty Dream by Youn. I'm going to butcher her name, but Youn Sun Na, but like I said, I'll link it below. And this one was the details, like you could pick up like the fingers sliding on the string instrument, the bass, and I'm assuming it's stand-up bass or cello or something, I don't know, but you can just hear those details. You can hear her breathing in certain parts where she kind of gets that sharp intake of breath before singing the next lines, that kind of thing, and it was excellent. And then like all there's little details you can hear throughout like the recording, and then moves from that, there's an intro is basically her kind of being like more of this acoustic vocal thing, and then it moves into a proper like more musical instruments come blending in, and it becomes more of a traditional musical track kind of thing with her singing. And it's just good pairing, and I really enjoyed that track for showcasing like female vocals. And this one, on some other headphones or IEMs, this can potentially get a little bit on the brighter side with her vocals, but this was fine here. So it kind of just shows that sometimes some tracks you're like, wow, how did this get so bright? And then you're like, oh, this one's going to be horrible with it, and it turns out just fine. It's the weirdness of audio and audiophileness, I guess. Anyways, you don't know until you try it and pair it, and that's what I'm trying to get at. So final thoughts after those tracks is that the Alba is, one, just it's a Meze product, so it's, like I said, just stupid good build, stupid pretty, very comfortable, very pretty. I can't get over how pretty Meze does their stuff, and the polish they put towards their audio gear. With that, sound-wise, if you have any concerns over there being like, if you're very bright or high sensitive or don't like the bright sounds and things, these could be potentially problematic for you. I think if you are okay with that and just kind of find the tracks you like, you'll find quickly like which ones you won't work with you with these. But overall, like, I found that these were actually pretty dang good. Like, especially for the price that they're coming in at, I was impressed, and the details fantastic. That's the biggest thing I was really like impressed with, was the overall balance. But then to have that much detail with that balance, granted, like I said, I'm going to keep harping on the highs being just that they're a little bit too splashy for my preference, but overall, like, these things were a very enjoyable listen. Just a few of the ones where I wasn't expecting it to have the highs be as splashy as I thought would kind of pull me out sometimes of my listening enjoyment, so just be aware of that. Yeah, my final thoughts are I definitely recommend them for the price, build quality, and sound signature. Just be aware of the splashiness of that highs. Moving into who I think these potentially could be for, honestly, everybody. Like, these are at a price point that's pretty decent for a high-end IEM, and for the price point, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck with these. And if you can get past the splashiness of the highs, you're getting a really excellent sound signature as well. And then pair it with music that kind of alleviates some of that, or you'll see. Like, if you ever listen to these, you'll find that there's some tracks that you'd be like, these shouldn't be this splashy, or then other tracks are like, oh, this is gonna be super bright, and it just mellows out. So audio weirdness. But yeah, I'm a fan. And who they for? I mean, yeah, anybody really. I definitely recommend at least giving them a listen or a try if you can. With that, I'll catch everybody on the next one, which hopefully will be in a couple weeks or a week, who knows. Anyways, catch you on the next one. Cheers.